This episode of Bill Swerski's Sports Talk Chicago is brought to you by the Rockford Ice Hogs. Hockey returns to the BMO Saturday, October 11th. Make sure to get your tickets at icehogs.com.
You are listening to Bill Swerski's Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple 2 or 3 best podcasts around. On today's episode, you'll get a big helping of the Bears. We also got Baez Mania, and of course, the Bulls. So grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, sit back, and listen to Bill Swerski's Sports Talk Chicago.
I'm starting 9 dickas.
I'm starting 9 dickas.
All right. Sounds like we need to make a side bet.
Starts with a C, ends with an O, and in the middle is a K.
I think his hair follicles cure malaria.
All right, gentlemen, the answer was the Bears.
Coach Ditka's hair could single-handedly cure our dependence on foreign oil.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears. He's a merciful Dick.
The Bears.
The Bears. The Bulls.
Go, Cubs, go! Go, Cubs, go!
The Bulls. The Bulls. All right.
Hey, please, this is a family show, my friend. No cursing.
Yeah, that kind of language it belongs in the gutter, the speakeasy, and Coach Ditka's press conference.
You know,
Hi, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski's Sports Talk Chicago. I'm here with my main man, Gary. You don't look happy about baseball season.
I'll be happy in October or November when it's done. Actually, I'm happy. The Little League World Series, we got the Jackie Robinson West.
Yeah, I see that kid that is definitely 17 years old.
He's a beast.
He is collaborating the ball. There's no way that kid is Little League age. He's probably a junior in high school.
Hey, you know what? The way I see it is all those other kids play baseball all year round. They're privileged. Their coaches are these crazy baseball nut fathers. If the kid's 17 and competing, so be it. At least he's not one of them. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, but he's still. They need to check his birth certificate. Because he is just clobbering the ball, and he's like 3 times the size of everybody else.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Do you ever go back and look at the stars of the Little League World Series, if they ever make the pros?
They hardly ever do.
They do not.
There's a couple that make.
There was the one kid who was the fat kid, played third base. He had a cup of coffee in the majors.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks, I think, because how much these kids have baseball ingrained in their head, and it's pretty sad. It's funny. It's fun to watch the League World Series, but when you think about what these kids actually go through, I mean, they play like 60, 70 games a summer. It's so wrong. No 12-year-old should be playing 60, 70 games in the summertime.
You got to man up?
No, you know, it just, it's funny because so many people love it because they think of the pure aspect of baseball, but it's so wrong. I mean, if you want to watch pure aspect, watch an actual, like, local Little League game that doesn't have a bunch of superstar kids that play 60 games a summer.
Yeah, but those teams aren't good.
I used to coach.
Winners.
It was a lot of fun. Our team wasn't good, but we once won on a squeeze bunt. It was great. I mean, it was. We beat like the first place team, and their coach was having a fit about it. Like, why would you bunt? I'm like, because we just won the game.
You played Little League, right?
Yeah.
What was your worst experience playing Little League?
Ooh. I don't know. It was pretty good.
Conceited.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I was one of the better kids in my Little League. I think having my brother on my mom always throws up how I never wanted my brother on my team because he sucked, and he did. but she always put him on my team because it was convenient. And I used to complain a lot about it. Put it this way, Sean, if you're like the shortest kid on the team, but yet you're always the shortstop, you're probably a decent player.
My last year of Little League, I had a terrible batting average, and turned out later my eyes were terrible and I needed glasses. Somebody yelled at me I needed glasses, and I really did. I couldn't see the ball, but I didn't know I needed glasses because my first time I had glasses. But my worst experience was I was in the outfield and somebody hit like this line drive towards the gap, and I'm running for it, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. And I get to a certain point, and there must have been something blocking the sun, because when I got to a certain point, the sun came at me both barrels, and I couldn't see anything.
The ball hit you.
And I just threw my glove up in self-defense, and the ball hit me right in the face. My whole face was swollen so bad, I looked like Sloth from the Goonies.
Well, I broke my nose missing a fly ball, but not during a game.
Yeah, I had a beat on it, and I was going for it, and sun came and I lost everything. It wasn't like, when you have this a little bit of sun in your eyes, you can kind of start adjusting as you go, but I went from like shade to sun like that, and dunzo. I couldn't see it. I looked ridiculous because I was probably like, this is the day before they videotaped everything, so I was probably running, and then just suddenly it looked like a goofball throwing my hands up over my head in self-defense.
I do have an embarrassing story similar. It happened when I played for the club team at DePaul. I was playing left field, and we were playing against Loyola, and the fields were like Park District, so there wasn't fences or anything. And a guy hits a ball, and I'm running for it, and I had that ball. I was like, it was mine. I full out diving for it, except there's this trash can, and it was a foul ball. So and I nailed this trash can. The ball pops in and out of my glove. I flip over a few times. All I know is I got up, and as soon as I got up, I walked over to the trash can, and I kicked it as hard as I could. And then I turned away from the infield because my coach and some other guy came, and I knew they were coming. And I knew everyone was going to laugh. So I'm composing myself because I was angry, and I knew what was in store. So the coach comes and says, "Are you okay? Are you okay? That looked horrible." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he's like, "That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life." And the other guy is like, "Yeah, my expression was, oh, he's going to get it." Ooh.
Yeah, the one nice thing about when I got smashed in the face is I really did look ridiculous. My whole face was swollen. I looked like that kid from that movie Mask with Cher.
I thought you were going to say Goonies, but
I already said Goonies.
Oh, sorry.
I was thinking about everyone with an awful face.
It is a little late for me, so sorry.
So the only saving grace of that is that neither of my parents showed up to my game, which is not surprising because neither of my parents showed up to any of my games. And normally I rode my bike home, but my face was so mangled that everyone felt bad for me, and somebody threw my bike in the back of their truck and drove me home.
There you go.
And it was actually the dad of the kid that hit the ball that hit me in the face.
Aw. I will say one more thing about Little League. There was definitely a pinnacle where I started hitting better when I was young, and it was when I broke my wrist. I was like 8 or 9 or something, and I had a cast on. It was my left wrist, and I really wanted to play baseball, and I went to the doctor, and this was June, right around our birthdays, and my mom asked the doctor, can I play? And the doctor said, well, I'm not in any pain, I can play. So she told the coach of the Little League team, and he's a little hesitant. So I went to a practice, and he was like, okay, let's see how you do. And I was just crushing the ball. I was hitting like I've never hit before, and I was they put me in the outfield because I had a cast on and I was catching balls. So he's like, okay, you can play. Games come and I start crushing the ball, and all the other parents looking at my mom like she's crazy. But what actually happened was, before that happened, when I would swing, my left wrist would turn, and so all my momentum weight would shift with the wrist kind of turning back. And with the cast on, it kind of taught me to hold my wrist still and follow through and get my hips into the ball. So I was always a good contact hitter, but like once I swung the bat well, I became a really good line drive hitter. So yeah, that's like
But speaking of Little League baseball, let's talk about the Cubs and the Sox.
Oh, good transition.
I know.
We were just chatting before about...
Actually, right before we started recording, we were waiting for Gary's son to go to sleep, and we were watching the video of Robin Ventura getting beat up by Nolan Ryan. And that was fun.
Looks like Billy Hatcher took the worst of that.
Billy Hatcher's face definitely took the worst of it.
And you saw Bo Jackson in there, so you can only assume.
And Ozzie Guillen was doing his best Flavor Flav impersonation. He ran in there and then just started jumping around and waving.
To know that Bo Jackson was in the middle of that fight, it puts a whole new perspective on which team actually won, because I wouldn't mess with Bo Jackson at all. Like, you got to think that whatever Ranger was like, oh God, he's coming right at me. He's like, what do you do when Bo Jackson is coming at you?
I would have fought Bo Jackson after he tore his hip out of his socket playing for the Raiders, and he couldn't walk.
I wouldn't. Artificial hip or not, man. I bet
the pre-artificial hip, when he was still, in between actually having it pulled out by the Bengals player and having his hip fixed. That time period.
Oh, when it was still, dude. I bet you could have punched him and be like, really? Come on, I'm Bo Jackson. You think that hurt? I displaced my hip, not the defensive.
Bo Jackson. I actually I was at my mom's last weekend, and I was bringing home some of my baseball cards. I got rid of most of my baseball cards. There was just so many, and they weren't worth anything. And
they were about 20 years ago.
Yeah, but now they're not worth anything. And I had the ones that, like in this case, that were the quote-unquote valuable ones. And there was definitely the one of Bo Jackson in there with no shirt on and the shoulder pads with the baseball bat over it in black and white.
That's a great one.
And there was also the Michael Jordan playing for the White Sox card.
That one's actually worth something.
I looked it up. It's like $1.
Really?
Yep. I had like 4 of them. I wish it was worth money because I would have sold them.
The biggest baseball card mistake I ever made was, well, at the time, I actually don't know if it was that much a mistake anymore. I was at a card show and I was going to buy a rookie card, and I was deciding between Ruben Sierra and Mark McGuire, and I chose Ruben Sierra. But in hindsight, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I had a Mark McGuire rookie in there. I had 2 of them.
Yeah, I got like 5 Ken Griffey's.
Yeah, I had a bunch of Ken Griffey's.
I got a Sammy Sosa.
I have a bunch of Gary Sheffield. I have
Sheffield.
a Dave Winfield in there. There's a Dave Winfield.
I have a
rookie.
Kirby Puckett somewhere.
Yeah, so it was kind of a flashback. But then I had some players that didn't do much, like Gary Scott.
Drew Hall.
Who else was in there? Derek May.
Oh my
God. I haven't.
It's not anyone from the Cubs in the late '80s.
I have an autographed Jerome Walton rookie.
Yeah.
I have an autographed Dwight Smith
rookie.
rookie.
Dwight Smith too.
The great Cub.
I have a Randy Johnson, Pedro rookies. My basketball cards are worth more. I got a bunch of Shaq rookies.
Yeah, I had a bunch of Shaq and Alonzo Mourning, and there was a Sean Bradley rookie in there.
There you go. I have LaFonso Ellis.
Oh man, there was some ridiculous. There was actually some good ones in there. There was a Pudge rookie in there.
I got that. I have a Jordan 30-year All-Star, which is worth some money.
I think I had a Carlton Fisk rookie in there.
Nice.
There was Cal Ripken rookie. There was Roger Clemens rookie. There was a Bear Bonds rookie.
And baseball cards just aren't worth anything.
No, but it was I don't know, kind of cool to me still.
Yeah.
Man,
I showed your toy collection off to some people. They're like, whoa. I showed it to my wife, and she's like, I'm like, you think I collect toys?
But what is there to say about Chicago baseball?
Well, I mean, I was saying before, if Carlos Baez played 162 games, he'd be averaging 275 strikeouts.
Javy Baez?
Say Carlos Baez. We got into the old 90s baseball talk, early 90s, so I figured I'd bring up Carlos.
What was your new nickname for him?
Pete Incubator Jr.?
No, you were calling him Pedro Serrano.
Oh, yeah, Pedro Serrano, sorry. I already forgot.
He's already leaving...
Throw him a curveball.
He's leaving out shots of rum for Joe Boo so he could hit the curveballs. He's like, I hit straight ball very far.
You know, I was thinking Carlos Baerga too. I'm just out of it today. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Not Carlos Baez. Carlos
Pete
Baerga.
Incaviglia.
Who else was a big power hitter that?
Rob Deere.
Rob Deere. Yes, that's who I was thinking. Mickey Tettleton too.
Yeah.
Big old Cecil. Struck out a lot. Reggie Jackson, the ultimate strikeout home run guy. Yeah, Javi is following in those footsteps really early.
My stepdad and my uncle went to a car show in Arizona, and my stepdad went up and was talking to this guy, and my uncle's like, "Oh, is that a friend of yours?" He goes, "No, it's Reggie Jackson."
I will argue with anyone who thinks Reggie Jackson should be in the Hall of Fame.
Should or shouldn't?
Should. I think he shouldn't.
You know, he's a Yankee that did hit well in the postseason.
Yeah, you know what? How many Yankees in the 90s hit? Does Paul O'Neill deserve to be in the Hall?
Yes. Twice.
Come on.
Or Bernie.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bernie Williams is more... I mean, there's debate on that.
No, he does not belong in the Hall of Fame.
But who else? Who's the guy that hit the homer that beat the Red Sox? I forgot who it was. And whatever. I'm sorry. I don't care if you hit 500 homers like Reggie Jackson did. He all-time career leader in strikeouts, a 260 career batting average. Like
So what's your feeling on Mike Schmidt?
Mike Schmidt could hit and field.
All right, what about Von Hayes?
Von Hayes had like 3 good years. Come on.
No, it's just. Do you ever watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah, they love Von Hayes.
The Christmas special. And
Yeah.
he's like, you don't know Mike Schmidt? And he's like, what, next you're going to say you don't know Von frickin' Hayes? He's like, who?
I know Von Hayes. He had like 3 good seasons for Philly in the 80s.
Von Hayes.
Kind of reminds me of Tim Wallach.
Reminds me of Vance Law.
Vance Law, like those guys that just had a couple really good years.
Now we're just showing we're old.
Didn't really look like baseball players.
No. But basically we're talking about Mr. Javy Baez coming up and being
He's
the
got 3
talking
homers.
Then he's got a couple that were opposite field shots that went to the wall. I mean, he's got power. He can hit the ball far. He needs to stop swinging at everything.
Yeah, the problem is he's got to learn that in the minors. I mean, he's in a lot of trouble if he's up in the majors for good.
No, I mean, I think
he'll hit home runs.
The thing is they're being very hands off with him. They want to just let him hit and see what he's. I'm sorry, they're going to let him swing and see what he's going to do, and give him some time before they start, futzing with his swing. He's got some big holes in his swing, and he swings at everything.
I don't think he has a hole. I think his whole body ends up looking at his dugout when he's done swinging.
He swings that bat so hard, it's ridiculous. Like, you guys, I'm gonna post a video on the website at swerskisports.com. Check it out. He swings like the bat is so fast, he swings it with so much force and so fast that he just spins his whole body around. It's like those cartoons where you twist like a rubber band at the waist.
So from a perspective of how someone bats, when you swing a bat, your back leg's supposed to come off the ground and turn 90 degrees from facing perpendicular to the plate, to parallel to the plate, facing the pitcher. His back leg probably goes about 180 degrees minimal when he swings.
Your back knee is not supposed to be on the ground when you finish swinging. It's just not.
And going 180 degrees.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, no, he's got a lot. He'll be fine. He's gonna hit a lot of home runs, and that's all people care about nowadays, anyway. So, I picked up Chris Bryant in my fantasy league, hoping he's gonna get the September call.
I don't know if he is. I think I'm
not?
fairly certain Jorge Soler is coming up.
Like, if he's not, it's strictly because like the Cubs are just trying to be cheap. Is what because he's got Scott Boras as his agent. Like, what he's doing in the minors is he has no business being in the minors.
No, he's just crushing the ball. He's just making it look like I don't even know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he needs to come up.
He's like a man among boys.
Let the Mike Olt experiment end. Bring him up.
Well, they have Mike's
Or
the Mike.
Who's the other third baseman?
Valbuena.
Valbuena.
Yeah, I mean, I like Valbuena. He's a good team player. He can hit occasionally, but if you're gonna win a championship, he's not the guy you're gonna have at third base.
Well, they're not gonna win a championship.
They are.
Not next 3 years.
They are.
Okay, Cub fan.
They are. Just telling you.
They have a lot. They have to show me that they're gonna spend money.
They will. They did. They claimed Cole Hamels off.
No, they did it. They knew they weren't gonna trade for him. Come on.
Just telling you. I was sending a signal out to everybody that they're going after, and I guarantee they are going to throw big money out at a number one pitcher, and they're going to get him.
If they don't get John Lester or Max Scherzer or a type of pitcher like that,
they will.
I feel
you heard it here.
I feel worse.
I'm guaranteeing
for you fans because your ticket prices are still going to go up because the Cubs aren't stupid. They're going to be like, oh wait, everyone wants to see these young guys. So your $60 a game tickets are going to go to $70 a game, and you're going to win 70 games. Enjoy that. Hey, at least you won't lose 100.
We're going to win. We're going to get a number one pitcher. That's going to make that rotation pretty good.
You have no bullpen, and I say this because my team has absolutely no bullpen.
We have a much better bullpen than you.
That's not saying much.
You guys have the worst bullpen ever. But the starting rotation is going to be pretty decent. Right now they're doing tryouts for guys. Kyle Hendricks looks great. Takeshi Wada pitched a good game last time. The guy that they got from the A's, Straley,
you're not going to sell me.
He's going to pitch up
on it until they do it.
I'm saying it is that they're trying guys out because you're going to be.
The White Sox a couple years ago had good starting pitching and they did nothing.
Yeah, because they had no minor league system to bring guys up. I know they had no minor league system to bring guys up to hit. The Cubs got hitting out the wazoo.
The minors.
Yeah, and they're all going to come up.
Evidently they're not because they want to save money.
Soler, Bryant, Baez, Alcantara, they're all going to be up next year. Brett Jackson's gone. What do you think about that?
Finally.
I feel bad. That guy, like he's a nice guy.
I don't feel bad. It's baseball.
I know, but he's like a nice guy. He's not one of those people that you're like, oh man, I'm glad. Like I'm glad he stinks. Like Bryce Harper. Like you just want to punch him in the face.
The thing about that is, so obviously I'm a Sox fan, and of course people say I'm a bitter Sox fan, but it's like
that's like saying water is wet.
That when you get, I was telling Sean earlier, like I listen to sports radio and. The first thing being like, Javy Baez is up in the bigs. Will he do well? I mean, really? Come on, let the guy play more than 10 games before you start anointing him the Mark Grace, Sammy Sosa, Kerry Wood of the Cubs.
I mean, the thing is we have like an hour to fill once a week. These guys have 4 hours a day, 5 days a week to fill, and they got to talk about something.
I mean, there's better things to talk about.
I mean, I feel bad because
like your boy Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle Hendricks is pitching great, and you're right. It's a short sample size, but you know what? He's the guy that everyone should be talking about. He's doing really well, and He came over in the Ryan Dumpster trade.
Well, all the women of Chicago can have him not say anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Nothing. I don't know what I'm talking about either. I'll tell you afterwards. Anyways, do we want to talk about other teams or like in our divisions or nah?
Nah.
Kansas City, I was right about them.
I never doubted you. You know, Kansas City.
You get a huge argument like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, they built their system and they went out and signed players and look at them now.
I'm going to pull tape. So I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, pull.
I'm going to pull tape. But I will admit when I'm wrong. Like, I thought...
You're hot. You're like, when has Kansas City ever won anything? I'm like, they're gonna.
I said Ryan Leaf was going to be a better quarterback than Peyton Manning. I will admit that. He had a better rookie year than Peyton Manning. And then the wheels just came off that train.
Wow.
I admit it. You know, nobody's perfect.
That was a very unperfect comment. Peyton Manning is what, the best QB ever?
Yeah, but everybody was debating who goes number one, who goes number two, who goes number one, who goes number two. And
that's why I say you have to give time before you anoint people better than other people.
Oh, I know. Nobody's saying that. I was saying that I projected based on, you know, their... I mean, if you look at the body of work in college, and you look at the stereotypical height and build and arm talent and just everything that went... Ryan Leaf should have had a much better career, but I didn't know that Ryan Leaf was crazy. Like, he was crazy.
And this is why you're hosting your own podcast.
Well, I mean, you know, there's people that are professional general managers, and, you know, they pick, you know...
Tim Tebow in the first round?
Or they don't pick Michael Jordan first.
Well, I mean, there's logic.
No, there's not. Michael Jordan is the greatest player who's ever touched a basketball.
Yeah, but...
You didn't draft him first.
At the time, well, you have to draft Hakeem first. Okay. There's no way, like, even me, as big a Michael Jordan fan I am, 1984, at the end of college, when size mattered, you draft Hakeem, and he was pretty good. I don't know if
yeah. I mean, if...
Portland...
The worst part about Michael Jordan, whatever happened where he was not in basketball anymore, whether you're the conspiracy people that said there was a suspension or he really went to baseball, which he really was a suspension, and let's not pretend
it was a suspension.
Yeah, is the worst part about that was, can you imagine the Bulls going for 8 consecutive titles and going through that really good Rockets team those 2 years?
They would have.
That would have been a great series, though. That Rockets team was good.
And so the other key person on that Rockets team was already on the Blazers, and he plays the same position as Michael Jordan did. So the Blazers were drafting big, as they should have. The problem with their draft is they drafted a guy who already broke his leg.
I'm just saying...
And already had a history of injuries.
I'm just saying...
So if you're going to knock anything about that draft, that's what you knock, is like, he was the wrong person to draft regardless. Like,
I'm just saying is that people that are professionals and they do this for a living, that's what they're paid to do, is make draft picks, is they make a lot of mistakes as well.
Carlos Boozer was second round.
I mean, you know, Darko Milicic.
Oh, yeah.
He got drafted ahead of Carmelo.
That was pretty bad.
Is it ahead of Carmelo?
Yeah,
Carmelo, or was it ahead of Dwayne Wade?
No, it's ahead of Melo.
Okay. He was ahead of one of those two. But that's
Imagine that being the Pistons team.
That means that guy was thought of as one of the 30 best minds in the professional basketball.
Yeah, but it's the Pistons.
So, you know, Ryan Leaf was a big, strong guy, had a cannon for an arm, and I had no idea he was nutso. So, but I'm willing to own up. I made that mistake. I could go back. I could go back and say, no, I never said that. But you know what? I did. I don't BS.
Well, I mean, you're the only person I think who thought Ryan Leaf would be better than. At least I don't know. That was a long time.
Mel Kiper probably won't admit it, but he did too.
Mel Kiper, come on. He won't admit he's done anything wrong.
It's true. And he's got that terrible hair.
Oh, man.
And he just signed for 4 more seasons.
So, now are we done with baseball? Since we
You got your boy Carlos Rodon. Struck out 7 from high A.
Yeah, he'll be up in the majors soon.
Yeah. White Sox.
Not that, I mean, we need bullpen help, so.
Yeah, White Sox, really nothing going on. Their bullpen stinks.
God, the bullpen is horrible. Chris Sale, were you telling me about that game, Chris Sale, against the Giants? Where he struck out 12 and pitched 8 great innings only to get a no decision.
Yeah, he should have got the win. Was it Belisario that one? Screw that one up?
Belisario did not screw that one up. Amazingly. He screwed about 2 other ones up this past week. I still don't know how that guy's ERA isn't above 7. It's amazing.
How do they not get rid of him? They
got rid of Scott Downs. I don't get it.
Belisario is so bad that I feel like they could just get anybody off the street and could come in there and do equally as good a job.
Yeah, no comment. He's bad. I mean, he's got to be the worst.
He must have naked pictures of somebody's wife.
And you don't know how much he almost gets paid as much as Chris Sale does this year.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it'd be a sucky Major League Baseball.
Yeah. I mean, as far as Cubs, they're playing bad. The pitching, the starting pitching other than Edwin Jackson has actually been really good. Arrieta had one game where the wheels came off, but other than that, he's had, I think, what do you have, like 8 quality starts in a row. He's pitching really well.
So, the Cubs are, I don't want to see this, lost 3-2.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to
The
score.
White Sox can't score for a whole week, including a game that I was at in Seattle, which was awesome, when I can honestly say both our stadiums suck compared to Safeco. They're up 11-4 in the 5th.
You know that lead is not safe with this team.
No.
If they put Belisario in there, that's 6 runs right there.
Ooh, I guess who homered? No, he didn't homer. Wow. But Abreu is 2 for 4 with 3 ribbies. Adam Dunn is 3 for 4. Wow. Anyways.
And what I was gonna say is, the whole Javy Baez thing is, they're making such a big spotlight, and I mean, luckily the kid just doesn't give a crap about.
Luckily, he hit a few homers,
and
so he's in the clear for a little while.
He's not media shy at all. I mean, he's got the Major League Baseball logo tattooed on the back of his neck, but he's overshadowing some of the good pitching of Kyle Hendricks and Tashiwada, and the Cubs. The Cubs, claim Cole Hamels off of waivers. I think that was their sign that they're really going to go after starting pitching, no matter how.
Or Black Boston, because Theo Epstein hates Boston. One of the two. That's the other theory.
And then they brought up, or they traded for the change of scenery guy, Jacob Turner, and he pitched in his first game the other day. Pitched 2 1/3, gave up no runs, no hits, struck somebody out. That's nice to see with a change of scenery guy. For me, it was the first thing is that's the Cubs' philosophy is they take guys that had a lot of talent that were first round picks, and
they trade for them and trade them out.
Yeah, because you knew they had some sort of stuff that they were throwing at some point. Then can they turn that around and can they fix that? Is it a change of scenery? Is it a change of pitching coach? And you buy low, sell high, or keep them. So Jacob Turner is somebody that had great stuff coming into the draft, first round pick. I believe he was top 15. That's pretty impressive. And if you can get him for nothing, why not?
Sure.
And he's already pitching at the major league level. See what he can do.
No harm.
No harm. You gave up like your 33rd best prospect for him. Something ridiculous.
So I will add one more thing about the White Sox. Tomorrow is Frank Thomas bobblehead all day.
Isn't that the second bobblehead down?
No. It was I was at the Frank Thomas Hall of Fame plaque. I have it over there if you want to see it.
I do. I will.
Hold on, let me get it. You can talk amongst yourself.
I will talk amongst myself. So yeah, the Cubs, they are what they are, and I really do expect them to go after major league #1 style pitchers in the offseason, spend some money, hopefully bring in a veteran bat. And I'm looking at this.
And Mark Burley's pitching tomorrow too, against the White Sox.
Wow, this is actually
I know,
a really
it's pretty
nice
cool.
giveaway. This is impressive. I'm looking at it. It's the Hall of Fame plaque, and you all know what they look like. It's the bronze. The bronze.
Unless you're Greg Maddux, there's no logo on the hat, but
you can go and do that now. But it's got his logo on there, and it's actually a nice heavy weight to it. It's got the metal plaque on there, and everything on there. It's got a screw to screw into a base, wooden base with his name and number on there. This is actually a nice. This is probably by far the best giveaway they've ever had.
beats bobbleheads.
It way beats bobbleheads. I've got so many bobbleheads, and
You see my Bulls bobbleheads.
I've got the whole collection of Bulls bobbleheads. I've got
How do you have that?
a friend of mine is a season ticket holder as well, and he does not collect them.
So you gave me? Yeah, I
yeah.
got them all stacked up in mine.
And I've got several Blackhawks ones from. Actually, all my Blackhawks ones are from Ice Hogs games, but they were Blackhawks
Do
players.
you want to get rid of your Carlos Boozer bobblehead dolls?
You want it?
No.
You can I send it to Los Angeles?
Yeah, well, how about that for a trade? We get Gasol, they get Boozer. That works for us, doesn't it? Anyways, let's talk about happy stuff, like the Bulls and Bears. So, well,
All right.
Bears aren't horribly happy. I heard that Zach Miller.
Yeah, so let's switch topics here and talk about the Bears, and it's one of those things that probably should have let off with the Bears because that's the big story. Everyone wants to hear that, but they had their second preseason game last night against Jacksonville Jaguars, and I was expecting to really pound them, even though Jacksonville
Better in defense.
they were second half of the season were actually a pretty respectable team. But I really expected
Wait, are they Jacksonville or are they the Los Angeles Jaguars?
There's a couple teams. San Antonio is apparently trying to get an NFL team.
Yeah, I think they're a team that's going to leave.
They're talking about the Rams being the one that moved to Los Angeles.
Back to really?
Yeah,
I thought
which I figured Jacksonville would because they've got
too many blackouts.
Like every game's a blackout. They can't even get their games on TV. But I expected the Bears to handle business, and they had really good moments, but they had some really rough things, like Kyle Fuller, their first round pick cornerback.
He's okay though.
He's apparently fine. They saw him walking around, but he hurt his ankle. But the big one, Zach Miller, is
so much for the backup.
yeah. They were really high on him. Missed the last 2 seasons because of injury. They got him for nothing basically. He had the first preseason game, looked phenomenal. It burned the Eagles up and down. And the Bears really had these high hopes of having this high-flying offensive attack where they had the best receiving tandem in the league. Then they followed it up with 2 really good receiving tight ends, and then probably one of, if not the best receiving back out of the backfield as a safety outlet. And suddenly, if your offensive line can basically hold up for a few seconds, you're going to just keep moving the ball. You can't cover all those guys. And I basically said backtrack is those of you that listen to the show. Marquise Wilson looked phenomenal. He really busted his butt.
Though.
Yeah, but he's going to be gone for the first few games. But he looked phenomenal. He worked hard in the offseason. He came in and just looked great. He was burning Tillman. He was burning double teams. He looked great. He was poised to be that number 3 receiver that just made it that such a triple threat.
And they said that was a stupid injury. Like
he was diving
dove
for
a ball
in
in
practice. Yeah, it was dumb, but you don't expect those things to happen in practice. But none of the other wide receivers have really been stepping up and replacing Marquise Wilson. Somebody will have a good game or a good day in practice, and then suddenly it'll look like crap later on. And so nobody's really stepping up. But I kept saying that, well, with these 2 good tight ends, you can really make up for that for those couple weeks. And then you lose Zach Miller, Liz Frank injury reserve, done. Probably done for his career.
They didn't even say what the injury was.
Yeah, they said it a couple hours ago. Liz Frank.
What's that?
It's a foot injury with the torn ligaments in your foot. So he's done for the season. Gone. Wow. Which is a shame because he seemed like a really good guy. Was excited to play and was doing really well.
Right, he's their only tight end.
No, they have 2 more, but one's a blocking tight end, Mulligan. And then they have Steve Maneri, who's not that good, but I really expected them to carry 4 tight ends, and I'm going to change up the way I was filling out my roster, my final 53 man, because I expected them to keep Mulligan, Miller, Rosario, and Bennett, but I can't see them keeping 4 tight ends if Miller's out. I don't see them keeping Maneri. What were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, I always look at these games when I watch them, and I kind of like halfway pay attention to the second half, just because half these guys, I don't know who they are, and they probably won't make the team. I thought...
Not to interrupt you, but to interrupt you really quick, I went out last night and I DVR'd the game and I watched it when I got home. So I started at about 11:30, and when the second half came on, I fell asleep just upright with my mouth open, and I woke up because my dog farted so loud. I was like, "What was that?" And I looked over and my dog's looking around too. like I'm like, "You did it," and he's like, "No, I don't know if I did."
So I saw the Cutler drive, which resulted in the Marshall touchdown, and that was really impressive. And I'm looking forward to that all season long. The defense didn't look great. When Chad Henne is making plays on you, it's sometimes hard to watch. On the radio, they were saying how Bostic and what's his name? McClellan just, they're out of position, and they improved from the first game, but they're still very subpar. And I don't, the safety position, I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, I know you're more a fan than I am. You probably know more than I do, but like, it just seems like, what do you do? I got to think that our boy Chris Conte is not going to make the team. I'm starting to agree with you on that.
Yeah, I just don't see a way because they're already so high on McCray, and Mundy's been their best safety. Even when he's 35, I can't see Conte beating out Wilson, and they spent a draft pick on Vereen, and they only kept
Stelz.
Stelz is gone. There's no way. He hasn't played at all. He still hasn't practiced, so he's not even. He's going to be an injury waiver.
Didn't Kelvin Hayden get an injury yesterday too?
Yeah, but I think he's okay.
Huh.
But you have last year they kept 4 safeties. I probably going to be the case this year, and I don't see. Unless Conte comes in this next couple games, it just...
Do you think it was strategic not having him play at Soldier Field, so he wouldn't get booed?
No, because he already knows what people think of him. He had Twitter until he canceled it. He can read. He knows what people are saying. But the thing is I don't think Conte's as bad as he was last year. I think last year there was a combination of things. One, the defensive line was terrible. The defensive ends were just abysmal. Julius Peppers was abysmal.
Watch him be a stud in your day.
I don't think so. I think he tried last year, and he doesn't have it in him. His heart's not in it, and his body's not in it. I mean, he can't be any worse, but the defensive ends didn't play well, and the defensive tackles were decimated. So you got no pressure on the quarterback. Gary had beans for dinner.
or a fire truck just drove by. One of the two.
Gave a little toot. But the defensive line was terrible, and if you don't get pressure from the defensive line, you're going to expose the defensive backs, and so and the issue was Major Wright was absolutely the worst safety in football, hands down, and
he was rated as 86 out of 86.
Yeah, and so when those rankings came out rating how the best and worst of the safeties,
Conte was 82.
I think he was 85.
No, Conte was 80.
No, they were the bottom two.
No, I
believe so. Either way, they were.
And not that 82 is anything.
Yeah, but I kept saying, I was like, everyone's beating up Conte. Why aren't they beating up Major Wright? Major Wright is so bad. At least Conte was trying.
He's got a cool name.
And he was just bad. And Conte was, so he got exposed a little bit by the quarterbacks having more time.
I think it was Conte was on TV more, being bad.
Yeah, probably. Well, you know what it is that he was trying. He was
in the play, whereas Major Wright was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, Major Wright was so out of position that he wasn't even on the screen, so they couldn't even say his name, or nobody could see him. It's Major Wright. I kept saying is if you would have gone out there with 10 guys, you would have been just as good off as if you had Major Wright out there to be the 11th. So Chris Conte, I believe he had some nagging injuries last year, and the thing about nagging injuries is, not to be an excuse, is anybody that's older out there, I'm sure, is when you have something that hurts, you start focusing on it and trying not to make it hurt. So if it's your leg, you try to walk gingerly, and you just think about walking gingerly. And I don't think he's a smart enough guy to be able to know exactly what position he's supposed to be in and diagnose plays while they're happening when he's busy focusing on something that's painful. I think that, coupled with the defensive line not getting any pressure, just really created a bad situation for him. So I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he played very admirably, other than last season, for this whole contract with the Bears.
He sucks.
So I don't. If they keep 5 safeties, he makes it, but he beats out MD Jennings. But we'll see. We'll see how he plays. I think he's going to play against Seattle.
Yeah, he's supposed to. The other thing in the game that was really annoying is it's hard to stay focused with all the penalty calls. Like, it was.
Yeah, I actually have some notes here because I was jotting down notes so I didn't forget things during the game. And the penalties, these referees have to get back into the swing of things too. I get that they have these meetings in the off season where they're told, focus on this, focus on that. This should be a penalty. That shouldn't be a penalty. But they called everything.
I've never heard more hands to the face penalties.
Hands to the face and illegal contacts. And I get it. Like, the thing is if you want to enforce illegal contact, watch the Seattle Seahawks and just flag everything they do for those cornerbacks.
We'll see next week.
But when you just put your hand on a guy or you're running with him and you're hand fighting, that's not a penalty. That's football. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I don't even care about either side. I don't have any specifics in mind where I'm angry about a specific call. It's just I'm angry at the officiating. It needs to tighten up. I think the officiating is sloppy.
Well, I think the big problem is a lot of. It'd be interesting if someone puts a stat together of what percentage of penalties are kind of like judgment call penalties, where the referee, based on what they feel like holding is always almost every time holding is a judgment call. I mean, a guy really has to hold, like make it real obvious. But most of the time, there's a lot of like, well, we kind of didn't really hold him. So I mean, that's what I consider a judgment call, and like the same thing with the touching the receiver past 5 yards. I mean, they do so much banging. It's really a judgment call. If there was, contact initiated by a defensive back versus contact by the wide receiver, or just coincidental contact. I don't know. And it just, to me, it takes the fun out of watching the game. It's like I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, another penalty.
I mean, these things all tend to work themselves out, I believe.
Yeah,
it evens
I
out.
don't think it favors to teams. I just think that
No, but I think they sort of,
for what they miss
right now, when they start the season or the preseason, is the officials they go to
officials.
the officials. They go to class and they have sit down, they watch tape, and they show the tapes and they're like, we want to be tighter on this. This is something we're going to call. And they start doing that, and then eventually they go, it's like the first day of school. You show up with all your notebooks and your pencils, and you're like, I'm going to pay attention every day in class. And then by the time after the first exam rolls by, you're just like, oh man, you show up to school with no books, and you're like, I don't have a pencil. It's the same thing. They're going to go back to the way that they know how to officiate. That's what it's going to be.
We'll see. It was brutal to watch yesterday, though.
Yeah, it just breaks up the consistency of the game, and the Jaguars had some really good things that they were doing, and
They had some bad calls against them. Like there was one pass interference by one of their defensive backs that clearly wasn't a pass interference. It was almost laughable.
is that the one where he thought it was offensive pass interference? Yeah. I remember that one. I can't remember who it was on the Bears, but they called the pass interference on him, and it was just two guys tangled up. It shouldn't have been a penalty on anybody. It was just some rough play.
I mean, he was also mouthing off the play before, so maybe that has something to do with it. But at the same time, it's you hate to watch stuff like that. Same with instant replay in baseball. Instant replay in baseball is such a horrible thing right now. It's totally being misused. I mean, there's no penalties in it.
I believe that it was Josh Bellamy that the guy was guarding. So I'm pretty sure it was number 11. But for me, going through the game, the defensive ends weren't as good as they were against the Eagles, but they were still pretty good. Lamar Houston was getting in some pressure. Jared Allen looked good. He wasn't finishing, but he was getting in there. He was beating his guy. Trevor Scott, I thought, looked really good.
Trevor Scott looked really good.
He's really making a case for himself to win a spot.
Where? But
I think he's going to be back at bottom of the.
he was looking good.
Yeah.
Granted, it was against second and third string offensive linemen.
No, he was in there. He was in there during with the starters. He was rotating in as part of
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
missed that.
Yeah, he was in there. He was in the second series. He came in. So I made some notes. So he came in there and got a nice sack, but they got negated because of an illegal contact by Kelvin Hayden. But so Tim.
I think I started watching right after that. Actually.
Tim Jennings, he had a rough game. Missed a coverage on Mercedes Lewis, and followed it up with a bad angle to go after Marquise Lee. Gave up 2 long plays. McClellan had a nice tackle right after that, followed by a nice tackle by Bostic. So Bostic and McClellan played much, much better than they did against the Eagles. They still have some things they have to clean up, but I was actually impressed. They both had some really good plays. The linebacker that just played like turd was Kasim Green. Kasim Green looked bad. It's at the point where I wouldn't be surprised if they had any more.
Who's the other linebacker? Jones or
Christian Jones?
Yeah. He's looking really good.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's got a defensive end number. He's number 96. But if
Alex Brown.
if the Bears had any more depth at linebacker, I would not be surprised if Kasim Green got cut. He's just playing bad. Marshall had a drop early, but Marshall, when the game's on the line, you know he's going to do it. But the impressive thing about it is Cutler is putting nice touch on the ball. He's not zinging and everything. Yeah. He's
being more patient. That's the big thing that I saw.
He looks so calm and patient in that pocket.
Like the one pass to Martellus Bennett for like 20-something yards. I mean, that was where the pocket kind of collapsed, and he just stepped up. He
was very comfortable, and that's the thing about being in a system for multiple years and having a consistency in your offensive line is you know what they're going to do. You trust what's going to happen. There's patterns. You know what's going on. You feel very comfortable. It's not when you're in the first year of a system, you're trying to learn the plays. Everybody's trying to learn the plays. What happens when the plays break down? Where are these guys going to go? He just felt very comfortable. He knew where people were going to be. He had his tight end sit down in an open spot in the zone. He stepped up in the pocket, fired a nice pass to him. Perfect.
Are you concerned about the running game? I mean, it picked up the second half, but that was garbage time.
They were bad last season running. They had some games that they were good, but overall they weren't that impressive. Running the ball takes a lot of effort. You have to keep going at it, and you need an offensive line that's played together for a while. I think it's they're not going to be a great running team, but they're going to be able to run the ball well enough to keep teams being honest in the defense. What else? DJ Williams didn't look that great. He on that Toby Gerhardt, that long run, he missed the tackle. Ryan Mundy was out of position. And that was one of the few times that I can say Ryan Mundy's looked bad. He looked good in the practices. He looked good in the first game.
By the way, how was your time out in Bourbonnais?
It was good. It was just really hot. My wife is pregnant, so I'm already sunburnt from being in San Diego a couple weeks ago, and it was just really hot. And I'm still red from how many weeks ago?
You don't tan either.
No, I just turned red, and I stay red for months. Then there was the 3rd and 12. Tim Jennings missed a coverage, and Lamar Houston he broke through and got just tackled. It was such a blatant hold, and they didn't call it. But Tim Jennings missed a coverage, and they got a huge play out of it. But then Jennings followed it up with he completely blew up a bubble screen, just perfect. Blew through the guy that was going to be the screen and hit the guy as soon as he was going to catch the ball and never made a catch. So he's like an enigma. Ryan Mundy had illegal hands to the face, which I thought was a ridiculous call because he had a great coverage on downfield on the tight end. It's a really crap call. It's probably the worst call.
What is illegal? I always thought it was when you grab just put your hand on the helmet or something.
You're not allowed to shove them in the face mask. And it was such a bad call on that one. Really, what they want to prevent, you can't see me, but it's when you push the face mask down, and anybody that hasn't played football is when you push the face mask down, your chin goes right to your chest, which means your eyes go down. It really throws you off. And if you push somebody from the bottom of their chin, it throws their head back. They really are trying to prevent those. But there's just so ticky-tack on it. I think you need to, just because you touch somebody's face mask is not an illegal hands to the face. It's when you really shove it. You have an open palm and you're shoving it in their face. The Bears did a lot of run blitzing, which was kind of surprising, and it was great in some plays but bad on others. Weems looked terrible. He's got to be a little worried. I mean, if Marquise Wilson was healthy...
Who's your return man then?
Chris Williams. Ratliff and Paya looked great. They were just destroying that pocket. Trevor Scott had some nice plays in there.
Oh, you really took notes.
I did.
Jeez.
Let's see. Yeah, the returns is Weems went down, got smashed down about the 15 on the first one, fumbled the second one, and the third one he only got to about the 15, and he looked really delicate running, like he was so worried about fumbling the ball. Martellus Bennett's blocking looked atrocious. He looked great catching the ball, but he was a main culprit in a lot of those run plays where it got blown up in the backfield. Garza looked awful, which is a little
Garza
bit.
like 50.
Yeah, he's like 35, but centers can play forever. It's a little scary that he's your starting center, especially, we got to see how long De La Puente is going to be out. Let's see what else. We already talked about it. Cutler had great pocket presence, kept his composure, stepped up, and made a nice.
All the QBs look good. I thought.
Did David Fales even get to play?
No.
I think what they're doing is, promise you right now, is I thought they were going to keep him on the roster. They're going to stash him away in the practice squad, and they don't want him to play because they don't want to see that he looks good because somebody else will snatch him up.
Wait, then they're going to keep both Palm?
Yeah, I think they're going to go with 2 quarterbacks.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they both get injured?
They bring David Fales. But at that point,
game?
well, no, at that point, if it's that game, you don't. You have somebody that's emergency quarterback, but it's not very often that you end up with your third string wide receiver. A quarterback on the field. It's more of somebody gets hurt and then you need to bring somebody as a backup. And at that point, they would probably sign a veteran. They'd probably sign Palmer back again.
Kyle Orton.
Kyle Orton's heart's not in football anymore. I love Kyle Orton, but his heart's not in the game anymore. Let's see. Nice passes to Forte. Another blown block by Garza. Michael Ola, the guy filling in for Mills, looks really good.
Yeah, everyone's saying that he looks great.
He looks really good. I wouldn't be surprised if he beats out Mills. You're not. Both guys are. It's not like you have a lot invested in either one, so it's not like you have to keep them playing because of their high salary. Weems had a blown coverage on a kickoff, and Fiametta missed the tackle. So the special teams has been a little rough still. Kasim Green took a dog poop angle on a long run. I wrote something different in my notes. Bostic on the very next play had bad coverage and followed up with a holding on Trevor Scott. But Trevor Scott's a real hustler. I like that kid. Bushrod had a rough game. Illegal use of the hands, couple blown blocks that he gave up. Kelvin Hayden had a couple blown coverages. McClellan got beat on a pass, but it was such a perfect pass. I think he was actually in pretty decent condition, but he was decent position. I was looking at something else. He was in a different position. He was in a pretty good position. But the thing that annoyed me.
He's probably in decent condition too.
He probably is. The thing that really annoyed me though is he was in good position to defend a pass. It was just a really good pass, but then he missed the tackle. Then Vereen missed the tackle. Then Kasim Green missed the tackle.
It's like last year all over again.
Yeah, luckily Wilson came in and cleaned it up. The fourth kickoff return by Eric Weems still didn't make it to the 20. Sherrick McManus looked good out there. He had some really good punt coverages.
He's our big special teams guy, isn't he?
Yeah, Demontre Hurst had a couple good plays. So all in all, the starting defensive line looked pretty decent. The linebackers had a rough day. Briggs, I don't even think I heard his name anywhere. It's like he did
played a couple snaps.
I know. I think he just, I don't know if he's just not hustling or if he's starting to get old. DJ Williams had some bad plays. Bostic here had some good and bad. McClellan had some good and bad. Kasim Green was terrible. The corners, Fuller was playing good until he got hurt, and I thought Peanut Tillman played pretty
It
well.
looked like he kept on getting injured though. If you notice, he was always up.
Tillman?
Slowly.
Well,
up.
he, I think he's got a stiff back.
Shouldn't be playing that.
I know.
That's pretty stupid.
You know, the safeties looked meh. Starting offense looked okay.
That's all that matters. Offense.
As long as you can have a middle of the pack defense and a good offense, you can do something in the playoffs. I mean, I guess it's about it for the Bears. I mean, it's really just about staying healthy and seeing what they do against Seattle.
In a first for this show, we've got a little addendum. Recorded the show a day and a half ago, and since then, some of the things that we talked about sort of came to fruition. Is I had some suspicions about who the number 3 wide receiver was because nobody seemed to be stepping up after all training camp and after halfway through the preseason. And the Bears made a move by signing Santonio Holmes. Little over the hill, but he's still much better than anything that the Bears have as a healthy number 3 wide receiver. They also cut Eric Weems. And as I said, he really stunk it up against Jacksonville in the return game. It was really bad. He didn't have one decent return out of 5 chances. He wasn't separating himself as a wide receiver. He blew up coverage. So really, what was he bringing to the Bears? I was worried that they would not have the stones to be able to cut Eric Weems based on the fact that who else do they have. But it was nice to see them really make a push for this team to go too deep in the playoffs by signing Santonio Holmes. Do I think he's the difference maker? Absolutely not. But seeing that this team doesn't, under the last regime, when there was an issue, what you had was they swept some of it under the rug, they dealt with some of it, but this regime, they're really dealing with everything when it comes up. You have a need for offensive line, they bring an offensive lineman. You need wide receivers, they draft somebody great and they bring in somebody better. You have defensive issues, you get rid of all your defensive ends and you bring 3 brand new ones. You bring in a whole slew of new defensive backs. This team's really making a push. It's not about the number 3 wide receiver. It's about the fact that the Bears saw the need, that they weren't good enough with their number 3 wide receivers that they had after Marquise Wilson's injury. And you can't have, if he's out for the first 4 or 5 weeks, you can't have a season where you're not going to be able to have only 2 wide receivers because A, what if one of them goes down? And B, this is a passing league now. You can't have it that way. You could have alleviated a lot of that with 2 really good receiving tight ends with Zach Miller and Martellus Bennett, but Zach Miller is down with a Lisfranc injury for the season, and he is gone. You lose that. So you could have done it with a 2 nice receiving tight end tandem in there, but without that and without a solid number 3 receiver, you are really handicapping your offense. And kudos to the Bears and Phil Emery for bringing in somebody who has been a number 1 receiver in this league and still has enough talent to be a really good number 3, at least for a first, third, or a half of a season, if nothing else. So really kudos to the Bears, and this was an addendum because a lot happened while I was cutting together the show.
I just want to mention one thing about the Blackhawks is, so basically the rule is when you draft a guy, if he decides to play college, you have until a certain deadline to sign him after he finishes college. So
what's his name?
Kevin Hayes. So that was their first round pick in 2010, and he was never going to sign, no matter what. This was a game of posturing. He was definitely not coming to the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks tried to make it sound like they did everything in their power. But really what it was is his brother used to play for the Blackhawks. They traded him away. And at the time, they had such a logjam of people up in the pros that none of the minor league guys were coming up, and they felt that they were a little bit lied to, that they weren't going to get a shot in Chicago. But that's really not the case now, because with so many high-priced guys, they're going to really have to rely on the young talent coming up and really providing a boost if they're going to be competitive again. and win a championship. And so these guys are going to start coming up. You know, you look at Ben Smith. Ben Smith waited it out and got his chance. Jeremy Morin waited it out, got his chance. Kevin Hayes decided, you know, I'm not going to stay. And there was no chance of him. And today it's official. So Kevin Hayes is out. And the Blackhawks said, we're looking forward to the opportunity that we have with our compensatory pick. So they're going to get a second-round pick. So it sucks because I think Kevin Hayes is a talented guy, but you know, you can't force him to sign. He's willing to wait it out and be a free agent. Played for 4 years in college just so he didn't have to sign with the Blackhawks.
Now, will he make more money as a free agent than he would have if he signed?
I don't know. I'm not sure how that works, to be honest. I know somebody that will know, and I could call them, but...
Do it right now.
Yeah, I'm going to call. No. I'm going to call that SOB. That's really about Blackhawks. You know, we got, 50 days left before they start playing.
Oh, what's his name? The GM was in the news for getting for the ALS.
I don't want to talk about them. I'm so tired of seeing people dump water in their head.
John whatever.
So yeah, that's about it for the Blackhawks. I'm really bummed. We haven't talked Blackhawks in so long. I can't wait for the season to start.
I'm not that bummed.
Yeah, haters gonna hate.
I don't hate the Blackhawks. Oh, I have Blackhawk news. They're not gonna play that stripper music when girls shoot the puck anymore.
The shoot the puck, it's so funny. The formula is little kid. They have 3 people shoot the puck. There's little kid, celebrity or athlete, and then a really hot chick. That is the formula every time.
And they play music.
I didn't know. I don't know what the stripper song is.
I don't either.
But people were outraged by it. But it's always a hot chick wearing tall boots. And there's somebody whose job is to find the hottest chick with the tall boots in that game, and then she's gonna shoot the puck. But I'm ready for hockey to start. I'm gonna be going to a lot more Ice Hogs game. Sponsor of the show. They definitely check out the Rockford Ice Hogs at icehogs.com. Season tickets are just around the corner, so keep checking out icehogs.com and look for us in the fall to be going to more games, doing some interviews with future Blackhawk players, and talking about our Ice Hogs. So you want to talk Bulls? There's not much to say.
Big game tomorrow. See Derrick Rose for the first time.
Yeah, the issue is that Cousins got hurt now, and Paul George destroyed his leg.
Slightly hurt.
He's got a little bit of an injury.
He's gonna be out for a little while.
Yeah, so I'm getting nervous.
Nah, I mean the Bulls are really deep. So I was talking to a buddy today. I was like, even if they do lose Rose, that's where the Aaron Brooks signing is gonna look like a steal. And I mean, they're with Rose, they're gonna be hard to beat. I would put them up against the Kevin Love with Cleveland team.
Oh yeah, I mean that team. Just think about the first year with the Heat, and the big 3 is it took them a year to gel.
It wasn't just that. I don't think they won either championship. I think the big 3 helped get them there, but I think they won because of their supporting cast.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And I don't see that supporting cast in Cleveland at all, and especially, you know, I think LeBron's it's gonna be a lot harder position for LeBron because there isn't that other go-to guy that's a slasher. I mean, Kevin Love, he's a scorer, but he's not a guy who he's not a guy like LeBron or Dwayne Wade or even Derrick Rose. Like, just take it to the hole and just be unstoppable. And I think when LeBron was not playing well, Dwayne Wade was. I think that helped out a lot.
I think the thing about Derrick Rose is, without Derrick Rose, they're deep enough to make the playoffs and probably even push deep into the
Get to the
playoffs.
Eastern Conference Finals.
They could even do that, but there's absolutely no chance
Sure.
of them winning a title without Derrick Rose.
I mean, I don't think anyone disagrees with that. I think it will be a shame if Rose gets injured again, just because this team is really built nicely. I've talked about it before. You know, the 4 options that I thought the Bulls should go, and I think they picked probably the best of the 4. I know Carmelo was a sexy pick. I thought all 4 options were fine, by the way. But I thought you'd have to give up too much. I mean, you do it to get that talent, but I mean, it greatly weakens your team in other areas. So if they got Carmelo, Taj is gone, a few other people are gone. They got Kevin Love, the same thing. But now they have everyone, and they add Paul Gasol, Nikola Mirotic, Dougie McBuckets, because we know we don't call him Doug McDermott.
I'm just looking quick at the Eastern Conference, and Boston's going to be bad. Knicks are going to be bad. Sixers are going to be bad. Raptors aren't going to be that good.
No, I disagree.
They're going
Raptors are going to be close to 50 wins.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to be bad, but they're not going to be superstars.
I like the Raptors.
I think Brooklyn will be pretty good. The Bulls are going to be good.
The Heat are
Cavs are going to be good. The Pistons are going to be terrible. The Pacers are going to be terrible. The Bucks are going to be terrible.
Bucks are going to be improved.
Yeah, but they're still going to be terrible. They may be a high lottery team. What about Atlanta?
Atlanta's going to be decent if Horford comes back.
Yeah. Charlotte.
Hornets are going to be good.
Yeah, Hornets are going to be good.
And even the things, the Hornets are like that surprise team, needs to know that the Hornets are basically a good team. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not coming out of nowhere. They're a good team.
Miami's going to be competitive.
Miami's going to be good. A lot of people.
I don't think they're going to be good. I think they're just going to be pretty competitive. They're going to be.
I think they win close to 50 games.
I think they're going to be the Bulls like last year, where nobody wants to play them, but they're not a threat to make it to the finals.
Probably.
I think that's where they are. Orlando is Orlando. And then the Wizards. Wizards, we saw what they did last year. So I don't think there's any team that just stands out so much that the Bulls can't be the team that makes these.
Well, I mean, I think a healthy Bulls stand out.
Yeah.
Healthy Bulls and the Cavs stand out from the other teams. I think.
I don't care what team he plays for. It would be so nice to beat LeBron James.
Yeah. I mean, Joakim Noah said it best. When he said, happy LeBron went back home, but I want to kick his ass every time I play him. No, I mean, the real problem is if the Bulls make it out of the East, that West is just stacked, and whoever they play in the NBA Finals, it's going to be a tough series.
The West is so stacked, it's ridiculous.
Like, everyone talks about how Minnesota is bad, but Minnesota had a winning season last year and didn't make the playoffs. So, yeah, I know that the West, I mean, even teams like Memphis is really good. No, I mean, basketball's, I'm excited about basketball in general. It's there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. It's not like it was 10 years ago, and it's fun to watch. It's gonna be harder for the Bulls to win 50 games now, even though their team is quite arguably better.
So I thought this was funny. A friend of mine posted on Facebook the other day.
What's Facebook?
It's this thing that people waste time on.
Like,
It's like MySpace but newer.
you mean Friendster?
It's kind of like Friendster.
Okay. What about IRC?
I don't know what that is.
Really? What about what was some of the Paul BBS stuff?
I remember my first DePaul email address. It was shotma2@shrike.depaul.edu.
See, I had Condor because I worked for DePaul.
Condor. Well, anyways, he wrote, the 1992 NBA All-Star Game is on NBA TV. East starting lineup: Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan. West starting lineup: David Robinson, Karl Malone, Chris Mullin, Clyde Drexler, Magic Johnson. Coming off the bench, Olajuwon, John Stockton, Tim Hardaway, Dennis Rodman, James Worthy. Bird was out with an injury. Oh yeah, they played OPP during the introductions. The NBA in the 90s was ridiculous.
Yeah, and the kids today think that the NBA is so much better now than it was back then.
It is not.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, we're sounding like those old men who is like, I remember back in the day when things were much better and players
Everything
were
was
much
better back in my day.
No, and actually, early 90s, there were about 6 or 7 teams in each conference that you thought could have made it to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, when you have Hakeem Olajuwon, arguably the best center of all time, is coming off the bench of the All-Star game legitimately.
There's just so many good, like, the Hornets. Remember the Hornets had Mourning and
Grandmama.
Larry Johnson.
Yeah, Grandmama.
And Muggsy. And, I mean, the Pacers had Detlef Schrempf and Reggie Miller and Rick Smits.
I'm going to put this out there. Does anybody remember the game NBA Jams?
Who doesn't? It's NBA Jam.
My team was always the Supersonics because they had
Sean Kemp.
They had Sean Kemp and no, it was who was the other guy? Detlef Schrempf.
Dale Ellis. Oh.
And I would dominate because I had two
was
tall
always
guys.
the Portland Trailblazers with Drexler and Terry Porter.
Oh, NBA Jams, and
I have it. If you want to play it later,
I will crush you.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't.
This is the challenge portion of the podcast.
I have a lot of the old school players on it too. Like I play with Pippen and Rose all the time.
But do you have anything else you want to
add? Season schedule's out.
Season schedule.
Get to play Los Angeles on Christmas. Get to play Cleveland.
Start off the season with the Knickerbockers.
Yeah, Cleveland on Halloween. I'll be missing that game because I have a gig. But
I thought it was the day before Halloween.
It's the 31st.
Oh, is it? Ooh. Maybe I'll go.
But yeah, no.
I'll be on paternity leave.
There you go. It's exciting. Like the one bad thing about not that we had a great summer, but the one bad thing about or the one good thing about the weather changing is that these sports that we enjoy a lot are gonna start.
I wake up in the morning and I just feel football and hockey season coming.
We can definitely. It's like 55 degrees outside in August, so you definitely feel it. But it's coming. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna make the freezing cold winters a lot warmer.
Well, I guess that wraps it up for another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. It's your hosts Gary and Sean signing off. Till next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van. And she looks like...
Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears!
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down